Ethereum right now has broken out of this symmetrical triangle, made this retest of the apex, made that final flag move to the downside, breaking below this low of the triangle, now potentially using this support level of the EMA as a push to the upside. Plus, I want to go over in today's video the Bitcoin 4-year halvings, which you can currently see on the chart, because the next one is coming up in April of 2024, and let's actually have a look at what's happened in the past to potentially see what's going to happen in the future coming up to and through this next halving event. Make sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and tap that notification bell to stay up to date with all of my latest YouTube videos. Plus, make sure to check out my trading masterclass in this video description that it's currently 50% off, and I teach you everything you need to know about trading these markets. Let's begin today's video by going over the Bitcoin 4-year halving events that happen over and over again. It is built into Bitcoin. We actually do have one event back here. I'm actually using Coinbase, but Coinbase doesn't go back to the 2011 region when Bitcoin was created. It more came in this region around this 2014 era when it was getting a little bit more mainstream, but obviously not majorly mainstream since we were still down in this very small dollar region. But this was the 2016 halving. We've then got the 2020 halving. We've then got the halving coming up in April of 2024. So let's actually scroll into the first halving. I actually really want to look at this and have a look at how price actually was basically affecting into the halving. We can basically see coming in to this 2015 region, which was actually one of the low regions and actually nearly supplemented the complete low that happened in this region here. So we've got a pretty strong come up into this halving event. We've got basically a year before, we've got a strong push into this halving event. And what actually happens after this halving event, we do usually see a bit of a sell-off. We use this exponential moving average and then made that major push to the upside, which all happened after the halving event. We got huge major push to the upside. So even scrolling into here, we can see this was the region where we had that unfortunate crash to the downside. It came into this area. It was actually right here. This is where we had that major crash to the downside, where we went from 10,500 Bitcoin down to 3,800. It was obviously a bit of a black swan event, but still did have a major downwards movement. Then coming into the halving, we definitely had a bit of a push. Then you can see for the next basically 2 months, we basically were sideways for basically from this bar here all the way until this bar, which was basically 70 days or 10 weeks. We moved to the sideways and slightly down direction. Then we made that major parabola to the upside from this 3,000 up to this close to $70,000 region. So what we can actually see is we usually see coming into the halving event, we do see a bit of a push. Coming out of the halving event, we do see either a bit of a stall or a bit of sideways movement or even a bit of a sell-off. Let's actually measure and see how much this was. We'll just measure back from the high to this sort of down here. It was about 70 days again. Look, 10 bars before we then started to creep up with these upside directions and make these major pushes. So it sort of says that once we actually come into this halving event, we usually see and expect higher prices coming into the halving event. But once we do hit this halving event, say up in this price range up here, we will move down or sideways for around this 70 week, or so around this region right here. We'll then move down for around this type of time frame, potentially moving sideways, potentially moving slightly down in this region. But what we are expecting is still a bit of a push to the upside coming into this halving event, as a lot of people are expecting and obviously know that the halving is a set date every single time. And we're going to go down from a block size of 6.5 down to 3.25. So still a massive reduction. The one thing that I do want to point out, and as I'm expecting, is a push into this halving event with this bullish momentum. One thing that I am looking at and really expecting right now is this strong trend line on Bitcoin to actually hold in the market. You can see from back in this price point here, which happened basically in the 1st of January of this year, we've been holding. We basically, all we're doing is we're connecting this point here, and all I've done is basically connect it to this point here and then dragged it across to then find all these points through here. And you can see what's actually happening. We have this upwards trend in the market, very similar to how we have this uptrending exponential moving average. You can see right here is nearly where they're perfectly meeting. And you can see why we are getting a bit of a push to the upside because we're coming into this value zone. But the one thing that I am trading right now is I'm trading Bitcoin to the long side. And one thing that I am trading is I have my stop position on the other side of this trend line. If we actually see the next bar makes a solid push to the downside, well, I'll basically be looking to get out of my position and I'll be extremely ready. My stop right now is actually right here below this low because this was the last swing low. It's obviously a good percentage, but I've structured it in a way to only risk 3% of my account. You can obviously see it's close to 15% of the total risk. So you need to understand that. But one thing is I'm basically looking to either get out on the other side of this, but right now holding this, watching if we break below the 20 exponential moving average and we break below this trend line, that will then give me confirmation to get out of my trade and then be looking for potential short trades. Because we've been holding it for so long, we've been holding it for how many months back here? Basically for 217 days. So it is a strong trend. You can see what's actually happened back here. Originally, we had a trend to the downside where you can basically connect all these highs, just move it across like this, even make it a little bit thin, a little bit more steeper like this. You can see what was actually happening. We were actually using this as potential downside direction. We even used this right here as that downside momentum play. And then what actually happened, we had a massive push to the upside through this area, big push to the upside, then use this as a support zone, try to come down, didn't even test this low. Then we can make this twist to the upside, we can extend this trend line, and you can see right now it's holding. So as I'm expecting high pushes coming into this halving event and also expecting to hold this trend line. If we do get a break of this trend line, it's definitely not going to be a bullish sign. So we can even extend this up. Are we going to hold this trend line all the way up to around this $40,000 level? It would make a bit of sense with Bitcoin. As you can see in this area here, we do have some initial support to resistance flip. So you can see what's actually happening in the price. That's roughly at this $38,000 level. And what we're saying is around this $42,000 level. So actually, we could definitely see a push into this region. All we're doing is extending this trend line up all the way up, because what we're saying is if we break below this trend line, then we're expecting downside momentum. If we hold above the trend line, we're expecting upside momentum. So basically that's how I'm trading it right now, looking to continue using it as support, make these upside movements, use it as support, upside movement, use it as support, potentially make a bit of a 3-push wedge in this area. Then it would make sense, as we saw, that we actually get a bit of a downside movement in this area for around that 70-day or 10-week period. Then we continue after the halving, making these massive pushes to the upside. I did just release a video showing you my complete price prediction for Bitcoin, so make sure to check out that video after you finish this one to see what my actual price predictions are. But you can see currently right now, definitely extremely bullish on Bitcoin, looking to hold this trend line, looking to hold this exponential moving average, looking to push higher into this halving event. Then with Ethereum, we're definitely focusing on a much shorter time frame for Ethereum. You can see we had this symmetrical triangle in this area. We had this break to the downside of the symmetrical triangle. We had an apex retest, and then we got this final move to the downside. Usually what happens is once we get a triangle late in the trend, you can see that this trend has been actually trending since all the way back here. We've been in a downtrend since basically 22 days. So basically for 30 days, we're in a bit of a downtrend, which definitely is a trend, especially on the 4-hourly time frame. We've got a flag late in a trend, triangle also known as a flag. Once we get that, we get one final flag to the downside move. And unfortunately, we had a move from this to this, and it was actually looking for a projection down into here. Unfortunately, we didn't get that, but we got a break of the bottom of this symmetrical triangle, which basically is this final flag move. So we are expecting higher prices slightly right now. One thing that we're looking at is we are slightly below the EMA, but again, we're on a slightly shorter time frame, looking at that 4-hourly. We've got the daily Even again, we're actually using it as resistance right now because we still have that downtrend of the exponential moving average. So right now we're rejecting. You can see why this exponential moving average is so strong in the market, because once we're below it, you can see that we made strong push below. We come back to the EMA and you can see now we're getting sell-offs to the downside in this area. But I'm not overly worried. Again, you scroll out to the weekly time frame, you can see that we're holding this overall exponential moving average. We can even draw a trend line in here and you see it's even more perfect than Bitcoin, getting perfect projections. All we're doing is connecting this line, basically connecting it to this one, but also connecting it here, just projecting it across. So all I'm saying is, as long as we hold above this trend line in this area here, still looking for longs. If we break to the downside, looking for shorts, still following the trend of the EMA. Overall, still looking for longs to the upside. Really hope you've enjoyed today's video. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, tap that notification bell, so up to date with all my latest YouTube videos. Check out my trading masterclass, 50% off in this video description. And if you'd like to continue watching my YouTube videos, click the video that's on your screen right now.